Hi trainers! Today we have some new information from our wonderful data miner ElChicoEevee, who has shared some possible changes that could have a massive impact to Pokemon Unite and the meta. We're going to talk about what it is, how the system works, the good, the bad, and why it could be a problem in Pokemon Unite. I'm Teeds. Feel free to subscribe and click the bell for all things Pokemon Unite related. So, ElChicoEevee has shared that a possible draft mode could be added. For those who are not familiar with a draft mode, it's a common practice where picks and bans are placed in ranked modes on other MOBAs such as Smite and League of Legends. So for the question of the day, who is one Pokemon you hate going against in Pokemon Unite? Let me know in the comments down below. For me, I think a really good Wigglytuff. I don't want to deal with a really good Wigglytuff. I love music, but that's the only time I just don't want anything to do with music. Just a disclaimer, this is a data mine. Nothing is set in stone until officially announced by Pokemon Unite, and it could always be scrapped in the future. Please take it with a grain of salt. I also want to add that ElChicoEevee has also found that they will be implementing more quality of life changes into the game, which is to improve the experience for players. I have no idea what these changes could be, but I'm very excited to find out what it is. We also have no idea if this is going to be for customs, in our ranked mode, etc. But I'm going to speak from a perspective if it were to come into our ranked modes we have now. So here's how it works in Smite. Every character in Smite is known as gods. So instead of Pokemon, it's gods. Each player is selecting who they want to ban for this game, so that god will not be playable for this game. After everyone has locked in their gods that they want to ban, you can see at the bottom of the screen, these are the gods that are banned, so no one on each team can use these gods in this game. Now players take turns picking who they want to play. In ranked, you and the enemy can see what everyone is choosing. You also cannot choose the same god as them, so it will never be a mirror match. So if you picked Pikachu, the enemy team won't be able to use that Pokemon because you took that Pokemon. So right now, enemy 1 is selecting the god they want to use, and then once they've chosen, now your team, LA1 and LA2, LA1 and LA2 are picking their gods, and so on. Why they do this and how this works is now because you can see what they choose, you can now counter pick the enemy. With enemy 1 choosing Thor is known to be a jungler in Smite. Your team might want to choose a god or a jungler that can counter Thor. At the end, once everyone has chosen their gods, you can swap them with your allies. The reason for this is sometimes you do not have priority pick since it goes in turns. You may want to choose a god that is pretty powerful before the enemy takes it, and then the person who picked first can give it to you later. I know this sounds all confusing, especially with those who have not played ranked in other MOBAs before or are just very used to the quick casual feeling of Pokemon Unite. It is more simple than it sounds. It's just when I put it into words, it sounds like a lot of steps, but it actually flows pretty well. If you're wondering how priority picks are determined, so why this player gets to choose first, it's usually done by elo. So the player who has the highest elo will be able to choose first. Maybe in Pokemon Unite, it might be done by the performance points or diamonds under Master or the points you get in Master. I have no idea, but that's how it works in other MOBAs at least. In League of Legends, they actually have another mode called Draft Mode, which is separate from their ranked mode. It's basically the same thing, but without the rank attached to it. So I believe it's for the people who like to pick and ban, but they don't want to be ranked for it. There's also a role queue, so you can actually call your role before you queue. In Smite, you have two options. You can choose your first choice, and then you have your second choice. And if someone chooses your first choice, you don't get it, then you get your second choice. If you lose both your choices, then you get a random choice, I believe. But I don't know if this will work in Unite. However, it is something to put out there, and it works pretty well in Smite, at least in my experience. So yeah, we don't have a ton of information right now on how this would be implemented in Pokemon Unite. If it is going into our ranked modes, it could be a separate mode. It could be implemented into our ranked mode. It could be customs. We have no idea, but it's still very interesting to talk about and especially get feedback on how the community would react to this. Okay, so let's talk about the pros and cons. If it is implemented as a mode or into our ranked mode, this would mean huge, and I mean huge, changes to Pokemon Unite and the shifts in our meta. The reason for this is because we could probably see bans on Pokemon like Lucario or Hooper, especially in high competitive matches since they're very strong in the meta right now. You could see bans on Greedent to cancel out Jungle Evade, or Wigglytuff who can counter a lot of Pokemon or set up team fights. Bans like this would force them to adapt to a new team comp for the game. You will see direct counters to enemy team comps, or you could try for something new. Either way, this brings a lot to the table, and we could definitely see some interesting things come to light. I, for one, would like this change. The second thing is bringing more into our item builds. We haven't seen any changes to our items since release. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe there have been like some slight, very slight bug fixes and stuff, but I'm not aware of any major changes. But if you can see the enemy enemy team comp, you could adjust your builds in the lobby. For example, you wouldn't need to use an assault vest that is more useful against special attack enemies if the enemy team is full of physical attackers. You could use full heal against enemy team comps with more crowd control. So not only does this introduce counters with picks, but you can also adjust builds to counter the enemy team, which is a lot of fun itself. And going back to countering picks in general, like not items but with Pokemon, for example, if you see a Wigglytuff on the team, you could pick Blissey because Blissey could counter Wigglytuff's crowd control. I for one would like the change, but there are some issues that need to be addressed if they were to add things like this. First, the pool is small. In my opinion, Pokemon Unite does not have enough Pokemon to implement this yet. If they were to follow the everyone gets to ban one Pokemon idea, they could, however, make it small, maybe 2 bans per team instead. Second is communication. At least in my Smite lobbies, I usually have teams that I can communicate with ease and we talk about who to ban and what kind of comp to go for. Pokemon Unite's communication is really not the best, and this could be a struggle when trying to come up with a team comp together. If this were a separate draft mode, at least players will have an idea of what to do, but if this was implemented into the ranked mode, then you could see some issues where players do not care enough to think about it and just want to play ranked. Without communication, a player could ban a Pokemon you wanted to play. Third is game time. Pokemon Unite seems to want to stick with a more casual concept of a MOBA where we have quick 10-minute games instead of the usual you see in like other MOBAs. It's like an average around 30 minutes and could sometimes go up to an hour. Just a little bonus question, if you've played another MOBA before, what's the longest game you've ever been in? For me, it was an hour and like 20 minutes in Smite. It was insane. The pick and ban is a lengthy process, so if they were to implement this into our ranked mode, I could see them adjusting it in a way that would fit their ideals. Pokemon Unite is very unique to me in MOBAs, like instead of like towers and stuff, you're defending goal zones and you're scoring points. It's really interesting, but I could see them trying to keep it quick and snappy. Another issue with the pool not being that big right now is what if the pick and bans is pretty much just banning the same Pokemon over and over, that the meta is just basically ban these Pokemon and use these Pokemon instead. Like, I don't know, that also could be something, but that's because the pool is a bit small. These are just some things on the top of my head. If you have any more issues that could come from it, I'd love to know. I'm not opposed to the idea at all. It will bring much more of a competitive feel towards it, but I do think they will need to do this right for it to work. But you know, this could just be implemented into customs. I wonder how this draft mode will enter into the game, but we do know that it's definitely on the radar, especially with ElChicoEevee bringing it up. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think about a draft mode in Pokemon Unite? Before I go, a huge shout out to my members. Thank you so much for supporting me. I'm so sorry it took so long to put this shout out. I actually just discovered the membership button and now I can see everything, so thank you so much. If you'd like to become a member to have access to emotes and more, the link will be down below. I'm really so thankful that you are supporting me this way. But you know, for those who can't become a member, just liking, viewing or commenting does so much for my channel and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, trainers. Bye.